You can go right out your door and be in the most awesome hiking spot ever.
Mm-hmm.
And we're live, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining NPR. Please, no, I don't want to do that. Bud Brutsman, Jeff Evans. Bud Brutsman, good friend of mine, next door neighbor, and Jeff Evans, his buddy, who apparently has lived a fucking crazy life, rescuing people off of Everest, traveling up there. And Bud told me, we were at this little carnival with our kids. He's like, gotta get this guy on, gotta talk to him. So no pressure.
Yeah. Your arm got put behind your back.
No, it didn't. It sounded good. I was interested.
Bring this asshole on.
How did you get involved with, first of all, when was the first time you summited Everest?
2001.
God damn, man. How many times have you done it?
Just once.
Just good move.
But I kind of get a 1.5 because I had a blind dude with me.
Yeah. So you took a blind dude all the way to the top. Why didn't you take him like halfway? Yeah.
Blow in his face.
Dude, you made it. You're one of the rare ones.
The funny part was we got to the top and we were like, man, we can see the curvature of the earth from here, bro. And he goes, I don't give a shit. Like, I want to get out of here. I can't see anything. I want to go.
That's weird.
That's actually not true. What he said is, hey, Eric, take a look around.
Take a look around.
That's what he said to the blind.
Take a look around.
Yeah.
Was it instinctual or were you just fucking with him?
I mean, I think it was a little bit of both. I kind of instinctively fuck with him.
Right.
We've been bros for a long time. I mean, it's a very fraternal relationship that we have. So I, by nature, just sort of automatically fuck with this guy. And I enjoy it, and he enjoys it back because he is super blind dude.
Right.
You know, the whole world loves him some Eric, and I'm probably one of the few people that just kick him in the nuts, you know.
Give him a little bit of a hard time.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're a blind dude that climbs Mount Everest, people just give you a free pass, a lot of stuff.
It's not only that. He climbed, what else did he climb?
Well, he's done a bunch of stuff, but he just kayaked the Grand Canyon 2 years ago in his own boat. The whole thing, 277 miles.
What, did he have a guy behind him going left, right,
Front,
left, right? Like
front
you do
and back,
skiing?
and they had, you know, these earpieces, and, you know, he asked me to go, but I'll climb Everest, but I sure as fuck ain't gonna take you down the Grand Canyon.
There's something that people really love about someone risking their life and then pulling it off, right? Something...
Assuming you pull it off, yeah.
Assuming, yeah. If you don't, then you make one of those Instagram greatest fails pages.
I mean, they were telling us before we went up there, like, you know, blind dude's gonna die, and when he dies, what do you think was gonna happen?
They were telling that.
Oh yeah, we heard
who,
that.
The Sherpas or who?
No, just the Everest
climbers.
experts. You know, this is back in '01. This was when Everest was
Super
pure.
dangerous.
It
Yeah,
was
super
a
dangerous.
little bit more raw than it is now.
How is that? What has happened? Because on the outside, what I've seen is all the exposés that show all the human waste that they leave behind, and including actual shit, right? And then tents, and people pay people to kind of do all the hard work, and then you just kind of show up, and still hard, right? But not as hard.
You got to put in, you know, you got to put in the steps. You
Right.
got to put in the work, but it's so commercialized that it's been diluted to a certain extent. And you know, I am a Sherpa advocate to the core. You know, these guys do the work. I mean, they put it in every single day. They're humping the loads, they're cooking the food, they're setting the lines, they're taking the biggest risk, and then allowing, you know, other folks to move through a little bit more effectively and faster, and, you know, not have to expend as much energy. And so we kind of got in there in '01 towards, I think on the ahead of the curve just a little bit as to when it started to sort of change. The face of Everest changed a little bit.
So how did they make it easier? Like, what did they do that made it more commercial?
Yeah. Money, number one, gets in there and pays a lot more Sherpas to do a lot more work. So the lines are fixed. The weather forecasting models are more effective and more efficient.
When you say the lines are fixed?
The lines are fixed, meaning the ropes on the mountain.
Oh, they're
all
so
get fixed in.
You clip in. Yeah, you clip into ropes when you go up.
Okay, so the ropes are there before you get there. All you have to do is just kind of like hoof it.
Yeah.
So it's not like before. So you kind of, wow, that's weird. So it's almost like you're on like a theme park. You're like an Everest. You're still in Everest, and you still could get fucked up by an avalanche, right?
I mean, there's no question. It's very dangerous. There's no way to mitigate all of that. But you know, it's it has been eased up a little bit. The edges have been taken off just a slight bit.
But it also adds other dangers, because if I was looking at it, it's sometimes more dangerous now because there's lines. There's sometimes 300 people, 600 people in a line.
Yeah.
And you're waiting from some asshole who didn't train, and you're watching him try to climb up this little 20-foot cliff, and they don't know how to work a Jumar. They can't climb.
What's a Jumar?
It's a hand thing.
It's an ascending device. It's like a one-way ascending device to go up a rope. So you can slide it up and it catches on the way down.
And then you use a pole. But people go up there. When we were up there, they had people, they literally, without talking shit about trekking companies, there were some companies like, all right, we're going to show you how to put your crampons as you're going in the ice fall.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, they've learned. Like, we're going to learn. They've never had crampons before. We had to, Jeff, not me, Jeff had to risk his life in helicopters going to high altitude to pick up people who shouldn't, no business on the mountain.
So they didn't manage to get their body acclimated? Is that what the issue is?
It's not that. They didn't put in the apprenticeship. Because, you know, nowadays the commercial component allows folks that have enough money to pay and then show up and get guided basically to the top. So back in the day, it was, you know, if you didn't have your teeth cut, you know, you know, it was on you. And nowadays you can just show up and you know, generally someone will be taking care of you, whether it's a guide or whether it's a Sherpa. And so, you know, it's changed. But, you know, I don't want to take anything from the folks who still go out there. It's a dream for so many people, you know, and it's still an aspiration and a life goal for, you know, a lot of folks.
And it's still very difficult.
Yeah. And so, for instance, last year we saw a really nice cross-section of skilled, experienced climbers trying it, but then we saw a shit show. You know, we saw a lot of folks who should have been on other peaks first, and then they weren't. They skipped to the top, you know. And, and you know, anything in life, you know, you bypass the work and you get smoked.
Yeah, yeah.
You know? Our rescue team, ARS rescue team, our 5 Sherpas did the highest altitude rescue in history, 28,500 off the balcony, and a girl, husband and wife. I don't know if they did she summit? I don't think she summited though. I think she was coming down the summit. Summit's at 29,35. She's at 28,500, and she decides to sit down. Her husband left her.
She's tapped out.
Husband left her.
Quit. People quit.
Yeah, people quit.
So she sat down, but she sat down, and he left her?
Yeah. Oh, wait. There's more to that story. So he left her, and then we go rescue her.
What did he say? Did he say, sit right here, I'll be back in a couple days?
This is up for questions. It's like there's 2 ways to look at it. We were talking about this last night. Was she may have just been a tap-out bitch and just said, I quit. And he tried to, please, come on, and finally just left her. That's one scenario. The other scenario is, you know, he just was like, peace out, good luck, I'm out.
Here's the problem. I do it this way, and I understand about diving. So let's say you and I are diving. We're 300 feet below the water, right? And my air goes out. And I know we can buddy breathe, but let's pretend there's no buddy breathing. And you're going to stick around to watch me die, and you're going to end up dying, or I'm going to grab a hold of you and grab your regulator, and we're both going to die. You can't help anybody at that level. You can't. You're tired. Your body is eating itself. You're basically dying in the death zone. He can explain that. Basically, and if your wife says, I'm sitting down, I'm going to get up in 5 minutes, you go ahead, and she's got a Sherpa with her, and then I go ahead, and you get back to Camp 4, which is exactly what happened. Get down to Camp 4 and look around, your wife's not there. Holy shit. And then they call us, and they wake Jeff and I up, and we're like, you're going to what?
So I was with her, right, at base camp when we delivered her to her husband, and I was trying to gauge, like, is he going to be one of these guys that's like, oh my God, I'm so glad you're alive, or holy shit, she's alive. Oh fuck, you know, like I don't, and I think it was the former. I think he was really ecstatic. He was crying. Remember, he was really he was really upset. But then
hold on, let's see. Okay. We gotta go. You have to go back down. No, it goes back because actually the first kick in the ball. So without taking the whole thing to this, so what had to happen is Jeff and I and our base camp manager Anthony had to take 4 Sherpas from Camp 2 or Camp 4, took 2 Sherpas and then 2 more in the middle of the night. So 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock at night, the most dangerous time. Winds are blowing 30, 40 miles an hour. It's 20 degrees below zero. Nobody's ever done. You don't do it. And we sent them up there and we said, can you go get her?
Oh God.
So, and you got to find this person on the line. So they walked, and they kept walking, and they kept walking. And we have video. Remember Mingma's video?
How long does it take to get up the line? Like how?
Normal human being. You, the 3 of us. How long would it take for the 3 of us to get from
From the south call to where she was,
balcony,
probably 3 or 4 hours.
If you're in shape. So take me out of that. Because I'm
You're
not
a runner, though.
Yeah, but I'm not doing any high altitude hiking.
All right, we'll give you
Everest.
5 hours.
Give me 5 hours.
Yeah.
Okay.
So-
So it's like very dangerous.
extremely dangerous, especially at night.
At the
You're
worst
hanging
time.
it out.
Yeah, at the worst time. Not even no one
knows where she is.
No,
on the
but
line.
the terrain dictates that she has to be, unless she's falling off the side, she's on a spine, basically. And you know, if you go up the ridge, you're either going to find her if she's alive or she's tossed off the side.
So she's dealing with super low air,
no air.
extremely cold, no air.
A
Did she
third
bring
of-
any
a third of
tanks?
what you got from
Did they
here.
bring tanks?
Yeah, but her air was gone. So you're drinking. You're
So she brought no air with her, or the air
No.
that she brought with her was done.
She was abandoned, basically. So
Oh,
they
fucking
left her. So,
Christ.
you know, generally you would have somebody with an extra tank to be able to help her out. But I get the sense that she just said, I'm done. And she sat down and everybody tried to kick, and then no one,
Right.
you know, no one could get her to
And
get
they
up.
didn't want to walk back with her.
can't. You
Probably
can't carry
tried, but you can't carry somebody
carry her.
at 29,000 feet, 28,000 feet. So keep going.
So the oxygen up there is 33% less than what's here at sea level. 33%. I mean, it's at 33%, so it's 67% less.
A third, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Normal oxygen. She was no oxygen, so she sat down. So the boys, we have GoPros on them. We had special cameras and pockets and all kinds of weird shit to film on the mountain. And the boys are walking. I have footage of Mingma. Mingma's walking up there, and he's going, I swear to God, I'll say this for you. He speaks decent English the whole time, and I'll send you the clip. It's the funniest clip you've ever seen. He's like, God damn fucking mother. And he's just cussing every step of the way. He's
Well,
pissed
because
off.
it's a fucked up scenario they're in, you know. It's the middle of the night. He's looking for
Yeah.
some, you know, potentially dead person in the death zone.
Yeah, in the death
It's
zone.
not a cool situation to be
tired.
Why is it the death zone? Because of the oxygen?
because of the lack of oxygen. Yeah,
Your
And
body
starts to conspire against you. I mean, you know, you can't assimilate any nutrition. You know, the fluid in your body starts to go to places it's not supposed to go.
Think
So it
about
goes
that.
up in your brain, and you get cerebral edema, and you make bad decisions, and you get a headache, and you lose your vision, and then you get pulmonary edema. Your lungs fill up with fluid, and you're drowning in your own fluid. You know, it's a.
This
you
is
know,
like
it's a
stepping
shit
out
show.
of the space capsule at Mars and going, I wonder what this is going to do to my body. And you step out and shit starts popping. It's strange up there.
Wow.
They've done MRI studies actually. That,
So that's where it is right there? This is the line? Jamie pulled
No,
up
over
the
to the-
death zone. Lack of oxygen above 8,000 meters can be fatal to climbers.
So
Yeah.
see that last.
8,000 feet is fucking high. 8,000 meters. That's
So
insane.
see that last dot before the summit. That's 26,000 feet, which is right there.
Mhm.
Yep, exactly, Jamie. That's
And is
it.
that where she
No, so go
she was
about
above that?
That's where the camp was.
halfway up, and that's the balcony right in there.
Oh, she was almost there.
500 feet.
Yeah,
She was 500 feet from the top?
She may have. Who knows? I don't know if she
Yeah.
made it.
She was at 28,500. And we have a GPS coordinates on it. She was at 28,500 feet from the top.
So she could almost say she summited Everest. She's like, she could see. Like Everest was like where your car's parked.
Yeah.
Except
Right?
there's a lot of crazy ass terrain between where she was and across. That's where the Hillary Step is, and that's where the ridge goes. It's no wider than your laptop in sections, and it's a 10,000 foot drop into Tibet
This
to
way.
the right, and a 6,000 foot drop into Nepal to the left. Either way, it would hurt pretty fucking bad.
It's as wide as a laptop?
In sections, it's pretty narrow, you
Oh,
know. But then
fucking
it
Christ.
you know, it opens up and it shrinks down, but I mean, it's no place to screw the pooch, you know.
Yeah.
And she did. So
Oh my God!
so
this
that's
is
the
it right here.
Well, that's the Hillary Step right there, which, by the way,
It's
this is
gone.
really interesting. 2 years ago, remember the earthquake 2 years ago in
Yeah.
Nepal? So it knocked that whole boulder off.
that boulder that people are standing on
That's
right there.
the Hillary Step.
Imagine if you're on that. You're like,
It's
I made
gone.
it. Yeah.
You going for the ride?
Yeah, that's
a
the peak
fucking-
of Everest. We're heading
Maybe
to the
you,
peak of
bro.
Everest.
I'll fucking hop off and grab a hold of.
Your wingsuit. His wingsuit up.
Maybe you, bro.
So that's look at that clown show. I
Oh
mean,
my
yeah,
God!
that's
There's
kinda
so
what it looks
many
like.
people. So if someone falls onto you, you got a real problem too.
Yeah, so the year we were up there in 2000, the year before, the fall before, there was a British guy, I can't remember his name, but he got caught up in the ropes descending from the summit down the Hillary Step and got caught. And there was nobody there with him. And he got caught, and he got stuck.
He
Like
died
in
up there?
perpetuity. Yeah. So we thought that for sure the first people that were going up in 01 that were like a few weeks before us had to cut him free because we were speculating, like, if we're the first group that gets up there, we're going to have to scoot around this fella,
Whoa, so he's just stuck on this line.
Well,
but he wasn't there when we got up there.
He wasn't. Somebody already cut him free?
Yeah.
Now, what do? You push him off the side?
Well, here's something for Jamie. So there's 248 bodies on Everest.
Yeah.
Right now. Still there. And these climbers, I didn't go up. I was at base camp. The climbers use them as markers.
Right.
You kind of go up here.
Isn't the original climber the first guy to make it?
Well, they found one, yeah, but he's on the south summit. He's on the other side.
On the north side in Tibet.
Yeah. Mallory's.
So that's
yeah, Mallory. They found Mallory's body. They didn't find Irvine's body.
Back, right?
His back.
It's still there, frozen
Skin's
solid.
there.
It's pretty weird.
Yeah. It's like ivory skin.
Yeah,
it's still flesh. Like, still flesh there.
But the crows,
it's cryogenically frozen.
The crows pick at him and they eat him. There's crows at that altitude.
Yeah.
They pick at him?
Yeah.
This guy?
Yeah, that's Mallory.
Jesus, look at that. That's so weird.
But that dude's a bad dude, man. That is a very bad man right there, because they went out with some hobnail boots and some marginal equipment, and everybody was telling them that they were going to be dead for sure, and they said, we're going to charge ahead, and they did. I mean, this was way back, man. This was in the 20s, right? So,
well, and there's the controversy that
look at that boot.
The controversy is that they summited first, but they can't prove it. So that's a big controversy. They thought Irvine and Mallory summited, and then they fell on their way down.
So crows pick at him?
Oh, yeah.
But obviously he's still there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they get at him as much, but there's things, there's a lot of stuff there. I ain't gonna lie to you. There's a lot happening there.
Look at that. That's sitting on the mountain. You have to walk past that.
Yeah,
that's intense.
I didn't see that guy, but
you've never seen that guy?
I didn't see that guy.
How many of the 200 and plus bodies have you seen?
Well,
up there?
the conditions change so dramatically over each season, depending on snowfall. So,
whoa, look at that dude. Jesus,
there's some creepy things up there. But,
zoom in on that dude's face.
I mean, he
looks happy. I made it.
I don't think he. And nice
jacket.
That's pretty fresh. That's a nice looking down suit.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, how many people die a year?
Well, I think the average is, nowadays is usually, I think, somewhere under 10, but, between 6 and 10 every season.
How many people attempt it?
I think the grade is increasing every year. I think this year was the most that summited, the most attempted and most summited was this year, and I think close to 300 people summited this year.
Jesus. Pull that picture up again, that image of deaths, Sherpas and regular folks. So a lot of the Sherpas died too, huh?
Yeah, well, I mean, there they go. They're higher in concentration. They do the majority of the work. And
fuck, man.
Well, and that's one of the reasons why we went out there. We saved more Sherpas, and we pulled a lot of Sherpas off, because more often than not, they don't have helicopters and they don't have helicopter insurance. And so we would go and I would pay for it. They would go, there's a Sherpa who's really sick and he's going to die. And then Jeff and I would just decide to pull him off.
The other thing they don't have is they don't have life insurance. And you can imagine. So a lot of these families, a lot of the Nepali and the high altitude workers' families, they lose their only source of income when these guys get killed. So actually a friend of mine, Melissa Arnott, who was the first American woman to summit Everest without oxygen just last year, she started a fund called the Juniper Fund, and it actually compensates the families when their loved ones are killed on the mountain.
Oh, that's nice.
And it's good. It keeps them straight.
Because they don't have a choice. This is high altitude. You
This
live
is
in
all
that
they got.
area, you're going to be a Sherpa or a porter.
Yeah.
And the highest level you can be is you're a Sherpa. You're a guide.
Wow. So what happened to this lady again?
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. Okay, all right.
Lady.
So Mingma goes up there. They're walking up there, and they need some help. So they and I have it all on video.
And he's going, fuck, motherfucker.
Oh, he's pissed. It's so funniest thing in the world. It's a comedy show. So then they hear music. Not kidding. They hear music. So she has a phone on her. I don't know how the battery's lasting. And she's sitting at the balcony, butt on the ice, and just barely breathing and listening to music. And then so they go to her.
Like Rihanna or some shit.
No, it was some kind of Indian music. Curry rock or whatever the hell it was. And then
was she Indian?
Yeah, she was Indian. Her name was Chetna.
You don't want to say her name, man.
Well, no, she's
You're going to disparage her.
No.
She's alive. She's good.
She's alive.
She's stoked.
She sent me a Christmas card.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
That's nice.
Yeah, very cool.
Okay.
Christmas card with her kid.
So what happened?
So then they get to her, and then they start calling her Mama. They're like, Mama, you need to wake up. You need to wake up. We got to go. And she's like, no. It's all on video. Like, leave me alone. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. And then they put oxygen on her, crank up the bottle, try to get some blood flowing, get stuff going. They sit up there at 8,000 feet, 35 minutes, 45 minutes.
Oh, Jesus. Trying to coax her?
Yep, trying to coax her to get her down.
And now, is it because of her personality, or is it because she's so, like,
so
diminished?
Cognitively, things go south too, right? So she probably had pretty profound cerebral edema, so her decision making was in the toilet. So you become really apathetic.
And it's impossible to carry someone down.
You can't carry someone. You can lower them down, which is what happened. You can tie a rope to their harness and short rope them down with with 2 or 3 dudes like working really, really hard and sort of lowering her down. And that's how they got her down. She quit. And a lot of people quit. I worked search and rescue in Alaska on Denali for years, and you'd be amazed at how many people are just like, done. And they just lay down and they're done because they're not rational enough to know, like, if I sit down and I just take just a little bitty nap, you ain't getting back up. You're taking a snow nap and you're done.
Ooh,
and that's
snow nap.
Yeah, the old snow nap.
Ooh, I don't like that sound. That's a weird term.
But with hypothermia, the interesting thing that happens is you get euphoric. Right? You go through this stage of super cold, and then your core temperature drops low enough to where euphoria comes in. So oftentimes those same people we would find are undressed. So you get hot, you get warm, so their gloves come off, the hats come off, the pants and unzipped, and everybody's buck naked on the side of the mountain.
Right before they die.
Right before they die. So, I mean, not that I want to go out that way, but I can think of worse ways. Like, it's euphoric. Apparently.
Wow.
Because we've also pulled people back. I've seen multiple times when we've pulled people back and they discussed that. They described it. And then we start rewarming their frostbite, and then shit's not right after that. That hurts. Turns out that hurts when you rethaw stuff.
Frostbite is so horrible to look at, too.
It's just see the stuff we had to see. And her fingers are still half fingers are off.
She got messed up pretty good.
Yeah, she sent me pictures.
She's missing fingers? Missing tips.
I think she's tips, yeah. She's lucky.
Some of the phalanges are gone, chopped off. So they got her down. They ended up hours and hours and hours, and we're tracking and we're trying to talk to them. They get her down to Camp 4, which is that trek that you saw. Then the trickiest part, as he'll tell you because I can't tell you, Camp 4 to Camp 3. Yeah, Camp 4 to Camp 3, and then Camp 3 to Camp 2, which they didn't even do. They couldn't get to Camp 2, which is straight on the Lhotse face.
It's the Lhotse face. It's about a 60 degree ice face.
Whoa.
Which is slick. So when you're roping somebody down, it actually does provide, less friction. You can actually slide somebody down, but you can't get going too fast.
So now you're at 27,000 feet. You're 130 pound, 125 pound Sherpa, and you got to lower this 200 pound lady down. Hard oxygen. These guys are working their asses
Wait a minute, she's
off.
200 pounds?
Well, she wasn't that big. But, with all her gear and all her shit on her, I mean, she was 160, 170 pounds worth of weight, dead weight, just getting lowered down.
Oh.
So we got her down. We got her down to where we could go in with the helicopter, and we picked her up and took her back down to base camp, and that was when the meeting took place between her and her husband, and the tearful rejoicing. And
so the part you missed was the helicopter landed it couldn't land at Camp 2. We weren't supposed to go up to 23,500, which is the base of Lhotse Crampon Point. Andrew got there and said, "I can only pick one of you." And she looked at her husband and said, "You stay."
Uh-huh.
And so she made him stay and take the next helicopter out. So we got her down. And
she looked at her husband and said, "You stay." He's like, "Bitch, you quit."
Well, she was mad because she got left. She was pissed off that she got left.
She was pissed that she got left, but he couldn't have carried her.
No, you're switching. It depends.
There's ways of looking at it both ways. Somebody quit. Somebody gave up. Somebody said no. I mean, who knows? But I'm sure they had to go through some deep-ass therapy when they got home. Okay, so I'm gonna fill in the gaps here. So fast forward 9 or 10 months, and husband has a heart attack and dies. So he died. I'm sorry, I shouldn't be laughing at that, but that's kind of fucked up. I mean, it is
kind of fucked up, but man, you made it to Everest, and then you fucking. But what's the karma though? They left her.
I mean, maybe.
But what is he gonna do? If he doesn't leave her, what does he do? He sits out there with her?
He went and told people that she's up there and she's alive.
And he panicked. He was panicking on the phone. He was there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, we talked about it last night. It's the romantic story. You huddle up with your girl, and you're going to die together.
Whoa.
right? And then, or you go down there and try to get her saved, and you get ridiculed for leaving her.
It's easy to Monday morning quarterback any of those situations because all bets off when you get above 26,000 feet. I mean, it is. You're kind of hanging on a little bit, and that's why you get these big into thin air stories that happen, and no one really can remember exactly the details, and it's a little bit sketchy. Like my intentions were, and I did, and you did, and I mean, summit nights on 26,000 foot peaks. There's always variables that come into play, and it turns into theater. I mean, it's a stage.
Whew.
People make choices. People make mistakes. We had that one guy on what's her face? Again, Grace's team. He was a triathlete. He went up, broke a bunch of rules, respectfully.
Oh, with regards to climatization and stuff.
Climatization, pushed himself too much. Yeah. Summited, got back down and died in his tent.
Oh.
His 5th attempt up there. You can look it up. It's on the internet. His 5th attempt up there, pushed himself way too hard. The rules are, if you don't make it to a certain point by a certain time, you should turn around and save your life and come back another day.
And he said no.
He said, no, I'm pushing through. Got to the summit too late, came back, really exhausted, 16, 17-hour day, died in a tent. He was 35 years old.
And what did he die from?
Exposure, cerebral edema. He might have thrown a clot. I don't know. I don't know the autopsy, but I mean, it was something fairly acute. It wasn't just exhaustion. It wasn't just hypothermia. He made it back to the tent and then just expired in the tent. So I'm not sure. I mean, there's a lot of things that can go wrong, and you have a small window to get it right.
What is good about it?
Well, about what? Summiting a big-ass mountain?
Yeah.
I think it's a tough question. It's a pretty nebulous thing. It's very subjective. It's very selfish. There's no chance. I used to climb pretty hard, and then I had a kid. And my sense of objective risk changed significantly at that point because climbing by nature is a very selfish pursuit. You're going out there to do something that brings me joy, and it brings me fulfillment, and it gives me a sense of connection to the people that I'm sharing a rope with, because we're on a rope, man. I mean, we're going to win together, lose together. I mean, it's...
But Jeff doesn't do it selfishly, and you give all these climbers shit. Like, that's a very selfish thing to do for him, but he did it because Eric did it. Eric wanted to do it. So he you're a selfish prick. You summited Everest. And he goes, no, I helped my blind friend go to the Everest. It really wasn't his goal. His goal was to help the first blind guy to summit.
And everybody on my team. It wasn't just me. I had an amazing team. There was with all our Sherpas on summit day, we were 19 of us. And at that point, I think this record still stands. We're still the highest number from one team in one day to stand on top together. And I attribute that to the fact that, just as you said, Bud, that was just a bunch of bros who weren't commercially guided. We were just friends, and we were there for something that was bigger than us. We were there for Eric. We wanted to get him as high up as we could and get him back down. And if that meant the summit, awesome. If not, we'll come back and we'll still be bros, and maybe we'll go do some other cool shit. So what happens when you don't go up there for me to plant my flag is, we got the summit. I got to stand on top. It's pretty cool.
What is the feeling like when you get to that top and you realize that you have summited Mount Everest? When you're up there and you're looking around, and you're like, holy shit, top of the world, Ma.
Well, just like so many other times with him and the stuff that I've done with Eric, I was worried about him getting down. That's all I was obsessing on it. Because there was a storm coming in, and we heard all the radio chatter.
How much time do you have for the storm?
I mean, the shit is barreling. I mean, it is moving quick from Tibet across. I mean, we could see it coming. It was probably 9, 10 in the morning, and that's early. And when it comes out early, the edge of the monsoon is late May, so the monsoon starts to pick up in late May. You don't want to be anywhere near.
But Joe, you talk about all the time the adrenaline dump. So imagine adrenaline dump in a cage. You talk about all the time. Now you just summited Mount Everest, but you're only halfway done.
Yeah, 80% of all mountaineering accidents happen on the descent.
Wow, 80%. Why is that? Because your decision making is compromised, and
yep, you did what you went to do.
You're done.
You know, you're like, let's fucking.
Oh,
okay.
you relax.
You just kind of take your
it's
eyes
adrenaline.
off
You're
your
like,
feet.
I did it, and all of a sudden I was like, oh, I gotta get down. That's way more
Wow.
technical.
But to be honest with you, that's somewhat of a rookie move. And I, experienced climbers always know to have a little bit more in the tank. You know, it's just like a fighter, right?
Yeah.
You know, you got to save some for the 5th round,
Right.
and you gotta know that it's coming and it's gonna hurt.
Right.
It's gonna hurt bad. I mean, I remember my legs, like they were jelly, man. I mean, trying to come down from that Hillary step, and I was just jacked. I was like the Gumby, man, coming down, and I actually fell. I fell onto a fixed rope right below right above the Hillary step. Yeah, and I got caught by a rope, and it was one of the only times I clipped in that whole day.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
It was kooky shit.
Did you
man.
clip in because you felt like your body was getting a little wishy-washy?
Once again, I knew like I'm a little bit not right. I shot my wad coming up. I dug some ropes out with my buddy Brad Bull for the team earlier that morning that were buried. We were the first people up. I mean, we were the first people up, and all these ropes were buried, and we were digging them out.
In the ice.
And they were buried under 1 to 2 foot of snow at 28,000 feet. And Brad and I made that decision to dig those ropes out because, not to know which way to go up, but to make sure they were there for the descent. Because that's when the weather comes in, and that's when the blind lead the blind down, you know. So we dug the ropes up, and I knew when I did that, that I was going to be out of gas. And sure enough, like coming down, I knew it. So that's when I was clipping in. I was a little bit more fastidious on, making sure if I fell that I'd be caught. Sure enough, I fell onto a rope, and then got back up and was like, good night. That woke me up. And
Did you get a jolt?
Yeah. Shake it off or look around, go, God damn, I wonder if anybody saw that. And then start heading back down.
So is it the appeal of like accomplishing something that very few people accomplish and joining like a very special club? Is that what motivates these people? Is it just a really difficult task and they want to see if they have it in them?
I mean, obviously everybody's got a subjective answer to that. And mine is I like to be with my people in the hills. That's my church. That's where I feel the most comfortable. It's where I feel safe, actually, in the hills, right? And
because
I feel grounded.
Know you're around other very rugged people?
Well, just people who make good decisions, and then, the cathedral of the big mountains makes me happy and sort of rejuvenates my soul. But there's something to be said for seeing what my body and my mind can do. I think that a lot of people would agree that that's probably one of the main reasons why we get out and do these things. But I mean, it's no joke. It's dangerous, man. I mean, you saw one of the most accomplished mountaineers, probably the best mountaineer in the world, just died, under 2 months ago.
Really?
Ulay Steck, yeah.
How did he die?
He fell. He was getting ready to go he was training up in the valley, in that western combe from that Camp 2 on Everest that you saw that image. He was going up the west shoulder of Everest with one other Sherpa who's a friend of his, not just a paid Sherpa. It was his climbing partner. And they were going to go up a route that has yet to be successfully seconded. So these Americans...
Seconded.
So it's been done once, and people have died trying to do it again.
Oh, Jesus.
Several parties. And he was going to go do it. These 2 Americans, Willie Unsold and Tom Hornbein, did it, and it hadn't been repeated. Because it's straight up commitment, man, balls.
But his Sherpa was sick.
His Sherpa was sick, so Ulay was out training one morning, and I think it was around 4 or 5 in the morning.
It was on Nuptse, right?
Yeah, so he was up in that sort of cirque, and he was over on a mountain called Nuptse, which is beside Everest, and he fell. Who knows why? Maybe he slipped or he got hit or something.
You have to see this guy. This guy, you can see the videos online. Ulay Steck is this guy, no ropes, no nothing. He's got 2 ice axes, and he runs up the hill faster than you can run on pavement.
For sure. Yeah.
Really?
They call him the Swiss machine.
Unbelievable.
There's a video of him doing this?
Oh, hundreds of them.
Lots of them.
How do you spell his name?
Ulay, so it's Uli Steck.
Now, when you see it, the incredible thing about it is you're at the 6-degree pitch, ice walls. He's at 26, 27, 23,000 feet, and he's just going bang, 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 bang.
Yeah,
it's like a video game.
He's a ridiculously committed, athlete. I mean, he was committed to his craft, being as strong as he could be, technically capable. But it's still a roll of the dice. And
how many people have died trying to do this summit?
to do Everest.
The seconded one.
Oh, a good handful. I don't know exact numbers, but several from different nationalities.
So everybody has either failed or died, except one person. Who's the one person?
Two Americans. That was Willie Unsold and Tom Hornbein.
And that's what they do. Once they summit, once the climbers are, and it's just, you know, humans in general, these climbers do it, then they want to find a more difficult route, or they do it without oxygen.
So Yuli was going to go up and do that.
Look at this fucking guy.
He's going to go do that and then come around, summit Everest, and then go down. Check that out.
Dude, he's like a fucking goat.
No,
Oh, yeah. Look at this. Look at that.
nuts.
That's incredible.
So his aerobic, you know, he's got that ability to kick out the lactic acid.
Oh, my God. That is insane.
He's an absolute beast. It's a shame. It was a big loss.
Is it just because he's been doing it for so long?
Well,
that he's
I mean, it's like any other craft.
Holy shit.
No ropes.
Oh, my God. Okay, for people just listening, what is the name of this video, Jamie? So, Uelisteck, new speed record, Eiger 2015.
So this is the north face of the Eiger. And so he's a Swiss dude, and he grew up, sort of cut his teeth in the Alps, and just
all this.
Now I want to be clear though.
No ropes.
This isn't like the first time he did this, right? It's probably the 50th time he climbed that route. He did it over and over and over, got it dialed, figured it out, and then went out and did these speed records, you know, and set these speed records. Very similar to what just happened on El Capitan last week. Did you hear about Alex Honnold and what Alex did?
Oh, yeah, I did. I watched the pictures and video of that.
Yeah.
He's been on the podcast before.
Alex has?
Yeah, he's a freak.
Yeah, so I mean,
what an odd dude he is.
What he did in my mind,
in a great way,
was like landing on the moon, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, the ability to pocket fear and just focus on the 3 square feet in front of you is unparalleled.
Yeah.
I can't. I mean, I've climbed El Cap, and I can't imagine being up on those slabs.
And how long did it take you when you climbed El Cap?
3 days. So
3 days.
Took him 4 hours.
And
so
he free soloed it.
But the point was
ropes.
like, Yule, you know, people look at that and they're like, whoa,
hands just
dude.
got super sweaty.
No, mine are too, by the way. You know, and I think about so if you look at Yule and you see this video and you're like, wow, he's crazy. No, he's calculated. And so is Alex. Alex, super calculated. Like he'd climbed Freerider, the route that he did a few weeks ago. He did it several dozen times and would fall on it and, you know, with a rope. And he just was in the right headspace that day and went up and did it without a whole lot of pomp and circumstance, just went out and nailed it.
Look at this.
There's going to be a crazy ass video that Jimmy Chin put
Jimmy was
together,
shooting it?
and Jimmy was near the top with.
No, what did he? Did he shoot it like next to him with ropes? Is
Good
that what they do?
question. No, so Jimmy was very respectful of not getting in his way because this is a very obviously very intense thing.
Oh yeah.
And
hey man, how's it going?
Yeah,
It's
right.
going good.
You need
Hey
coffee?
dude, look down there. Fuck.
Can
what
you
a
do
crazy
that again?
view.
Yeah, I missed the shot.
Yeah,
Can you go
back
back
down.
up?
Yeah.
Hey man, can you give me a thumbs up?
Selfie.
Look over and smile.
But Jimmy's a very accomplished climber, and he's an amazing cinematographer.
Yeah, there it is.
He
Jimmy
knows.
Chin, National
Jimmy
Geographic.
So
Shout
Jimmy
out to
was
Jimmy
at
Chin.
the top. He was at the top, and him and his team, I think, lowered down, and yeah, greatest athletic human feat.
Jesus
I
Christ.
I ain't gonna lie to you. I have to agree because if you think about true athletic feats, it's not just obviously the corporal sort of event. It's just the whole mixed bag of who you are as an athlete, mentally, emotionally, behaviorally, physically, how you execute in the moment when shit is just on point, like right in your face. And he did it like to this level that I can't even. It's unbelievable,
Sweat is
man.
dripping out of my hands.
I mean,
Crazy, right?
2,000 I
Yeah.
mean, once you get 30 feet off the deck, it's game on. You ain't,
Right.
and then now put a power of 100 on that.
But there's very few sports where one mess up, you're dead.
That's right.
Does he have any like guys that are trying to be the next Alex Honnold that are chasing him?
Well, I just read something this morning about that there could be some emulators, that are
Jesus.
like, who knows? There's other super tough, badass climbers that are out there that are also free soloing and doing shit without ropes, but he's at another level, and everyone knows that.
How is he at this other level? Well, first of all, like, what separates him?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of body chemistry that is sort of a mystery. Like, how does his pituitary, how does his adrenal gland not just flame out, right? How does he control that in a way that I can't?
Right.
I mean, we're sitting here at the desk and my hands are sweaty just thinking about it, right? So there he is, as calm and collected as he can be. They've done studies on Alex. They brought him in and like, you know, buzzed his brain. It's like, where are you, you know, chemically, biochemically, when we introduce assaulting sort of variables on you? And he's just flatline. So he's the perfect blend of biochemistry and physical capacity, but also devotion and commitment to his craft. I mean, he's an artist, right? That's the way. And he got down from that climb that day just a couple weeks ago, and they're like, "What are you gonna go do now?" You know, it's Disneyland. He was going on his fingerboard, and he was gonna go train and do like, you know, fingerboard workout that afternoon, because climbing El Cap for 4 hours was not enough workout for the day.
It was like whatever he says.
Put him in an MRI and showed him images, and that's what his response was.
Yeah, his brain's fear levels. After looking at gruesome and arousing images, he commented it was like whatever. That is that dude. He's so mellow. Right. But that's how he described it. When I said to him, I said, like, what is it like? Are you freaking out? Are you trying to keep calm? He's like, you're really mellow. Yeah. He goes, if anything is like, if there's anything wrong, it's so wrong. Like when it goes wrong,
cascades.
Yeah, like you're fucked. Like so, you're always. The way of putting it was mellow. Like, you're really.
I think
mellow.
there's a video, I believe, and it may be Alex and maybe someone other climber, but I think there's a video of him probably at El Cap when he was free soloing before this one, where he says, "Give me a minute."
It was northwest direct face of Half Dome, and I've climbed that route too. And I tell you,
the only time I've ever seen him flat.
That was the iconic image on Nat Geo, on National Geographic magazine, of him standing just in his plaid short shirt, like on the ledge, you know, leaning back. And he reflected on that. They asked him about it later, and they said, you know, what was going on? He says, I just needed a minute. And he got it, and he calmed himself down. Whatever was happening in his head, who knows? And he recalibrated and went up, you know, no gear. So it's just, who knows? There's.
That's him right there. That's when he needed the minute.
No. There's another one of Jamie. It's he's in that green. There he is over there on the right. Yeah, that one.
The green
or the
right above it, right there.
It's the one where he's standing there, sort of on the left. Yeah, that's the one that I think was the Nat Geo shot.
Yeah, and that's the one he says, "I just need a minute. Just need a minute."
That's 1,000 feet off the deck, you know, right there at that spot. But you know, I mean,
imagine if that's your kid.
We all,
you know, and you're like, "What are you doing today, honey?"
So he has a very, very close relationship with his mama. He grew up in Sacramento, I guess, and I guess his mom. He just tells his mama what she needs to know.
Yeah, he doesn't tell her until after it's over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Fucking Christ. Yeah. It's just like, that's a crazy thing to be awesome at.
You know.
All right, hold on. So we're talking a lot about climbing, but the other reason why I want to bring Jeff here.
But hold on, we're not changing subjects. I don't know where the fuck you think you're going. This guy, like, so you said that there are a few people that are trying to emulate what he's doing.
Well, I think there's just a few guys doing their own thing, and it happens to be free soloing. And, you know, he's the pioneer. And
right.
There were other guys before him. There's a guy named Peter Croft that was out there for many years, sort of. You know, he did a route called Astro Man in the Valley that was at the time. And I remember, you know, I was in my early 20s when Peter did that. And I remember reading about it and thinking, no, like, what? How does one want to do? And I was just really getting into climbing a lot. It didn't compute. But Peter Croft, I think, and guys like him and like Alex just have a wiring that's very, very different than the rest of us. And it seems reckless to many, many people. But what I do seems reckless to many people. So it's so relative, and there's a scale, you know? And people that would look at Alex and be like, you're crazy, man. That shit, you're going to get... And like, he's like, whatever, man. I'm sure he's...
Yeah, there is a scale. There's like... Scale. Yeah. Well, what about physically? Like, is there like an optimum build? You know, like for basketball, you really want to be tall and thin, right?
Yeah.
Is there an optimum build for what he does?
I mean, I think, you know, sinewy and the strength to weight ratio is obviously, you know, the best climbers are usually
thin,
pretty thin, and you know,
carry themselves well. Yeah.
And you know, it's
he's got big hands, like not necessarily big like basketball player, but like his fingers are sausages. He has these fat fingers from constantly training them,
just almost calloused.
Yeah.
Too.
Well, just the amount of weight that he can carry on his hands has got to be pretty unusual.
Yeah.
So this finger thing that he does, like what is the
Well,
thing that he did?
The campus board or a finger, or
Like one of those peg boards, like from wrestling.
That's kind of like a campus board, is like a inverted sort of board that you climb up just for strength, and it works your core and your arms and your chest and your delts and stuff. But then the fingerboard allows you to get mono-doit, double-doit, 2-finger strength. So he can then slot and then pull on one of those, so it strengthens all your tendons in your hands, in your fingers particularly. Just little holes carved out of sometimes it's a.
Oh, that's it right there?
Yeah, so sometimes it's wood, sometimes it's a composite.
It's like almost like a little cubby shelf. And so you stick your hands in there.
Yeah, and there's routines. I use one at home.
And there's 2-finger pockets and 3-finger pockets. Oh, wow. You use one too, huh?
I do, yeah.
Wow.
I use one too. And then I'll try and hang, and then count to 30, hang, and then go 2-finger and hang. And
he did this after he summited?
Yeah, so he went down and was like, got interviewed, and he goes, sorry, man, I got to go do a workout now.
How's he not tired?
Yeah, well, that's
why he's the best, right?
That's why he's where he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
wow.
pretty remarkable.
So did this exist 20 years ago? Was there a lot of people free soloing 20 years ago?
Well, no, I mean, it's like that's the Peter Croft of those guys. There was a few, and back in the old Camp 4 Yosemite days, like in Yosemite Valley, I mean, this was the place. This was the birth of it. And then there was some dudes that were not far from here in Joshua Tree that were doing some pretty balls out soloing.
In Joshua Tree?
Yeah, in J Tree. And I lived in Joshua Tree for a while, just living in my van down by the river there and climbing all the time and eating ramen noodles and growing my head a little bit, if you know what I'm saying. In the tree, man, and because there's a lot of climbing there that's pretty. There's highball stuff.
I bet if you could look at like the amount of mushrooms that are done like in a specific location, and then look at Joshua Tree, like the high concentration. I know so many people go to Joshua Tree just to shroom out.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to look at that map. There'd be a big target hunter. Yeah, seriously.
Probably a big cluster, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some good stuff there, man. I mean, that was when I was sort of really, really diving in. I was diving into climbing. Those two things were conjoined, was psychotropics in a way, and climbing. Yeah,
they are with a lot of folks. Well, it's that extreme connection to nature, right? And to life.
And like you were talking about a little bit ago before we came on air, was when you're stoned, you see the ball track better when you're playing pool.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Well, you feel like the revolutions of the ball. Like you feel like how well you could touch the ball and get it to move. Like your cue ball could, for me at least.
Yeah.
I play like 10% better when I'm high.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, just feel more in touch with things.
Yeah. That's why I like the social sliver.
Social sliver?
Ooh, yeah.
What's that mean?
Sliver. Microdose.
Oh,
so just the microdose of
mushrooms or acid?
Mushrooms, but so the new medium for us. I don't know if you've heard of it is goo. Do you know the goo?
Goo, no.
So it's super concentrated psilocybin. Ooh. So they take mushrooms and they distill it down, concentrate it up, get this liquid, turn it into a Tootsie Roll appearing consistency, color.
Give it out on Halloween.
You get a stick, and you get a stick, and it's literally the size of a Tootsie Roll, and we just take like just a little nip, and that's the social sliver. And
and then it makes you just a little more tuned in.
I mean, a lot more tuned in.
I have a buddy who's a high-level kickboxer, world champion kickboxer. Started microdosing a few months back. Does it every day. Every day microdoses, and he competes on it, fucks people up while he's microdosing.
So with what? With L or with
mushrooms?
So I think, and you might know this more
locked in the zone
more than me, but if you take it serially, it gets diluted over time.
Yeah, but when he stops taking it, he feels it. He misses it.
He does.
Yeah.
Every day, like a vitamin.
Yep.
I think that's called addiction, maybe.
I don't think so because it's not addicted
to it. No.
It's like you get addicted to washing your hands. If you're one crazy OCD guy, I gotta wash my hands one more time.
Yeah.
Like if you can get a mental pathway that's very destructive, and you can call it addictive, but it doesn't demonize washing your hands.
Yeah.
I think his issue is when he doesn't take it, he says it just things aren't as fun, doesn't feel as good. But I've been around him when he's taking it and he's 100% there.
Yeah.
Like it's not. He's like, wow, man, I can like see your eyes, and I'm thinking your eyes are looking at me, and what are your eyes seeing? I assume they're seeing what I'm. No, he's there. He's there like you're there. You know, Bud needs a little experience in his life. Don't you agree?
I'm really quiet over here because I have no idea what the fuck you guys are talking about.
I've threatened him with a social sliver before just to see what happens.
Be good
but
for
it
him.
could go either way with him. Though.
We should hotbox him right now.
Let's fuck him up.
No.
No? Scared?
He's got to do P test.
Interesting. Dude, P test, he owns his own company.
I know, that's the funny
test.
Who's P-testing me?
He tested himself.
Joe's been trying to get me
He
high.
just likes to piss at his
Joe's been
eyes.
trying to be high for about 18 years.
Yeah, I have. He's not exaggerating.
No, so I the microdosing, the goo, man. It is just.
How do you get? Well, let's talk later about that.
I know. Well, I've
There's people.
There's
Yeah,
there's conversations
yeah,
that need to have that
yeah,
need to happen.
yeah, absolutely. So, are a lot of these climbers doing that?
I don't think so.
No?
I think that there's probably a handful of us that like to mess around with those things altogether. And not to say that I don't like to trip my balls off and go get on a rock.
Of course, right.
Matter of fact, I've had a few sort of spooky times just being really stoned and being on a rock and not liking the situation I was in.
Yeah, yeah. I've been that way. Just normal life. Like you get too stoned, especially like edibles.
Chiba Chew fucked me up.
Oh, they'll fuck you up.
Fuck me up.
Oh, they'll fuck you. I had a bit off my last special that's based on the truth. I ate a fucking gummy bear, a pot gummy bear, and the guy told me to just eat the leg. It really is a true thing. I'm like, why the fuck are you making a whole bear then if you want someone to eat a leg?
Yeah.
It's this tiny little thing, and I ate the whole bear. And oh my God.
For a while too. It's a long time till it's metabolized, right?
It takes hours.
You wanted it to be over.
But you feel so good when it's over. You feel like I needed that. I needed all that pain and fear, and just I got through it. And it's like a near-death experience. Like something about it, like it's cleansing.
I'm not sure if eating a gummy bear should have that kind of effect.
It shouldn't, but it does. And when it comes through on the other side, like it's beneficial. As long as you can keep it together. As a person that's why it bums me out that you don't smoke pot or do anything. It's because I know you could keep it together. Because you're a tough guy. You keep life together. Like it would just make you like more aware of
but
shit.
here's my
19 years
take on
ago
this.
we started this
Okay,
conversation.
but here's my take on it. Bud is
on the deathbed, I'm going to get him high.
Smoke it! Bud likes to be in control. There's
Yeah,
no
that's
question.
the problem.
And he's afraid that he might not be.
You ever
That's
look at
my
Bud's
theory.
closet?
I did.
Does it shock you when everything's black? It's a little confusing.
So I had a 10-minute conversation with this dude last night. Like, dude, that kind of fucked me up looking at your closet.
Stay the fuck out of my
He's
closet.
like, I don't
man.
like other colors. Everything's black. He
It
has
was
black
20
cars.
linear feet of
Yeah.
one shade variation of the other black shirt of the other black
That's like
shirt of
some
the other black. He's a
all
fucking
work
ninja.
and no play makes Jack a dull boy. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. Oh, yeah.
No. It's efficient decision making, right? I don't have
Right.
to make that decision,
Yeah,
right?
that
I have
is
too many
true.
other shit to go in life, so I'm going to wear that.
I get your
I can feel that.
strategy,
I can
yeah.
feel that. I get it. I understand it.
Guys, everybody develops a uniform in life, right? It doesn't matter if it's khaki shorts and a blue. Everybody, that's your
I have a
uniform,
uniform.
Right.
Yeah,
That's true.
You develop it. So
You know what's
mine-
interesting though? If it was orange, it would be a big issue. If you were walking around with orange sneakers and orange pants and an orange shirt, like this wacky motherfucker. But somehow or another, because it's black, you're like, oh, it's Bud.
Friend of mine, Tom DuPont, is he owns DuPont Registry magazine. Green pants, like shitty looking green pants, all the time. Like, what's with us shitty green?
He's
Everybody,
like, I'm rich, bitch. I'll wear whatever the fuck I want. It's
I'm
probably
a
what he's
DuPont.
saying.
We invented chemicals. Fuck off.
Bitch, I got so much money. I like wearing green. His reality is probably so confusing.
He's like, everybody remembers me my green pants.
Yeah, I was in Lanai recently, and Larry Ellison owns the whole fucking island. He
That's
owns
right.
the whole
Yeah,
island.
he bought it and
Yeah.
rebuilt it.
Yeah. Well, it was Dole Pineapple owned it. First of all, Dole Pineapple bought it off of, I was there, I read the history of the island. It's amazing. A Mormon owned it. Some crazy, but they don't even think he was really a Mormon. They think he was just a con man who used being a Mormon to lock people up
I'll
and
make
fuck
no
their
comments
wives.
on
and,
that, though.
Yeah.
There's probably a lot of stories just like that.
Oh yeah. There's quite a few, especially with Mormons.
That's
It's a
right. That's what I
very,
mean.
very interesting religion, right? When you know the guy who made the religion, like there's two religions like that are pretty prominent. L. Ron Hubbard, of course, and then Joseph Smith, the Mormons. You know the guy.
Kind of a con man.
Yeah, 100%.
He's a fucking con man. He broke out
invented
of
it when
jail,
he was
right?
14. He
Right.
found golden tablets that contained the lost work of Jesus, and only he could read them because he had a magic seer stone. He had a stone that he could look through to read these. Fucking Christ.
He broke out of jail.
Yeah.
Like, he jumped out of the window.
He was
right?
murdered.
Yeah, he got murdered in jail.
Yeah.
He got killed in jail. I think
But-
what the funny thing is, I think it was him or somebody else who invented the polygamy part. They're like, wait a minute, I
Yeah,
got another
yeah.
tablet. I can fuck all the bitches I want. Hold on. Yep,
I can
everybody.
have as many wives I want. Yeah, it's yeah. Good luck with all that. That never works. But the
Why would you want more than one?
I know. I can't handle one, man. I
yeah,
don't get
some
to
people
do that.
just like danger. Like Alex Honnold likes to solo climb.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's just people
all
like it.
subjective.
They're like 19 chicks yelling at them. I don't know. Whatever.
Sounds like an
I'm not here to judge.
overload.
I think it should be legal. I think if those 19 women are into it and you're into it, why is it even legal to get married at all? Why is it like when you see 50% divorce and people get their lives devastated? When does the government step in and go, hey, you got to stop doing this? This is just ruining all these people.
All
like
these kids.
It ruins more
Family.
people than anything.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just stop getting married.
Keeps the loggers afloat.
Yeah.
though.
It does.
That's who they should stop. The fucking lawyers.
Yeah. It's a big business in weddings and
We can't
lawyers.
stop. Yeah, we can't stop that. We
Yeah.
won't make any money.
Jesus Christ. Yeah. Fuck all that. But so this guy who's this crazy Mormon guy sold it to the Dole Company, who used to run pineapples there. They used to have a just massive pineapple plantation. And that was what it was forever. And then some other dude, Murdoch, but not Rupert Murdoch.
Yeah,
Another
Murdoch. He owns half of Westlake.
Yeah.
Almost all of it.
That dude bought it, and then he sold it to Larry Ellison, who just runs around in gold underwear and fucking has people carry him like he's an emperor. I
Colonel
don't know,
Kurtz.
just making that up.
Colonel Kurtz on the nigh.
Yeah, I don't even know where he is. He keeps a place out there, I guess, but he just wanted to own it. It's a fucking baller place to live, though.
So there's not. How many people live there?
3,000.
That's it.
There's 15,000 axis deer, though.
Oh.
Yeah.
So am I right in remembering that the concentration of people is not necessarily on the coastline
No.
on the night, it's in the middle?
Yes.
Right?
It's in the middle.
Yeah.
Smart
Because-
people don't live on the coast.
Yeah, they're smart. They're like, this island's not that big, and sometimes shit goes bad.
Yeah.
Let's not be where the water is, guys. We can go to the fucking water. It's right there.
It's the asshole Americans that
Yeah.
are like, oh, I want to live there.
Anywhere you are, you can take a hike to the water.
Yeah.
You know, it'll take a few hours if you're in the middle, but you
Yeah.
can get there. Like, you don't have to live there. Jesus Christ.
So tell me
Yeah.
about the axis deer. I want to hear.
It's
like,
insane.
They're everywhere. I
I've
mean, was it
never
not
seen
even
it.
sporting or?
Oh, it was definitely sporting because
Yeah.
these animals, they evolved to run from tigers. They are the fastest fucking animals I have ever seen in my life. Like in terms of like their ability to react. Like there would be a deer 60 yards away, you draw back on it, launch the arrow, and it would be nowhere near that arrow by the time the arrow got
So
to
you
it.
lost a few sharp sticks while you were there.
Oh yeah. Well, you'd go 5 lighted knocks. I could see them in the grass, but I lost 2. But the arrows are going 275 feet a second, and the deer's like, bitch, no chance.
So they're not
they-
indigenous to the island. 'Cause they're-
No, there's no indigenous mammals on that island. Everything is invasive, and everything has no predators. So they bring in these rangers and SEALs, these snipers. They bring them in. They set up on a bench, and they just start ba-bang, ba-bang. They start taking them out.
Smoking 'em.
They
With
have
50
to.
cal?
Yeah, well, no, they don't have to use a 50 cal. They probably use like, I don't know,
Be
7
fun.
millimeter or something. But why do that when you want the meat? The
Yeah.
meat is outstanding.
Yeah.
It is some of the most delicious meat in the world. But these animals are so on point. So for bow hunters, it is like one of the best places for spot and stalk. Like if you could put the smack down on an axis deer, like you either got lucky, which is me, or you got some skill. You know, like I've got a little bit of skill, but the guys that I went with that are really good, like Remy Warren, I think he shot 3 or 4 while I was there. My friend John Dudley shot 4. World-class bow hunters, like as good as it gets. Those guys killed quite a few. But it's a great learning ground, like for stalking,
Yeah.
because you blow so many stalks.
Screw 'em
You
up.
get
How
they,
long were
they
you there?
smell you. I only hunted for 3 days because I had a problem with my bow that I had to fix once I got there, and it took a day to do that. But once you get there and you see how many deer, you realize like, oh, okay, this place is overpopulated.
So, but in those 3 days,
I saw thousands.
You
of deer.
saw a shit ton of deer.
thousands.
Yeah.
I mean thousands.
and you took a few shots.
yes,
Yeah.
I took a few shots. Yeah, they're tough animals too.
So
man.
are you moving? Are you moving and stalking and pausing and holding?
Yeah, you're doing what you call still hunting.
Yeah,
where
still
you're
hunt.
walking and then you're looking for an animal that you're constantly using your wind checker, which is like a Visine bottle with
Yeah, with
talcum
the
powder
chalk.
in. Do you
Yeah.
bow hunt at all?
Yeah, well, I've just recently started, yeah.
So you puff that in the air and you find out which way the wind is going. My guide, though, he knew where the wind was going. He just knew from his face and his neck and his skin, like he could tell, like, where's the wind blowing? And he's like this. And he just puffed that smoke in the air, and sure enough, it was going exactly where it was. Shout out to Roman. But his ability to sneak up on these animals is pretty fucking impressive too. You know, he do a lot of crawling. Like a lot of the grass is like waist high, so you're doing like crawling where you're moving like literally like at a snail's pace. Try not to make too much noise.
Because you know they're over there, right?
Oh, yeah.
You've sighted them already when you've glassed them and you know they're there.
Yeah.
And you're on an island, so they can't really go that far.
There's plenty of room for them to go. I mean, this is not like you're hunting them in a 100-acre confined high fence place. It's all wild and free range, and there's mountain terrain, and there's plenty of places for them to get away from. But they're aware of one predator, humans. You know, so they're not scared of anything other than people. So when they see a person, like, fuck this.
But are there a lot of bow hunters that go over there?
There's plenty of bow hunters that go over there.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. It's a pretty amazing place, man. But Maui's another really great place for bow hunting too, apparently. And Maui also has pigs. Maui has axis deer. They have a deer, a ram called a mouflon that apparently is unbelievably delicious. But the locals think it tastes like shit. Some locals said it tastes like shit, and some locals said it's the most delicious meat ever. But the bow hunters that I was there with, there's a mouflon. The bow hunters I was there with, see if it's on Remy Warren's page. Remy Warren's Instagram, I think, has
like a ram.
because he shot one.
But
He shot a beautiful one.
You like that axe is better than venison? It's not better than elk.
It is delicious.
It's
I mean,
different.
it is delicious. I wouldn't say it's better than elk. Elk is my favorite meat, but it's right there. It's right there. It's
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, you know, like antelope, I know I'm not trying to relate those, but antelope
there's
just
Remy.
super sagey.
This is one that he shot in Lanai. So it's a really small animal, right? And they're on this really rugged mountain terrain. Lanai is so fascinating. It's such a fascinating place. And the people that live there could not be nicer, could not be cooler. It's beautiful, gorgeous paradise.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's weird because they've decided to introduce these animals. I think they did it way back, hundreds of years ago, and they have to keep those populations in check. And sometimes, again, they bring in snipers and they put a bench down and they just set up shop and get those long range skills going.
So I was on Maui probably about, I guess, a month ago now, and I went over to my buddy's house, and he has a pretty sweet spread. It's at the top of this canyon and looking down up on the hill going towards Haleakala. And he's like, man, you can come on my property anytime and shoot these fucking deer.
Wow.
Because he's like, they're a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
And they're everywhere. And
Yeah.
like, we need to get rid of them. They come in and eat my oranges and this and that. So, but what's the tag situation like? Do you have to, I mean, is it
You get a
private
hunting
land?
license.
Do you get a license?
There's public land. We hunted public land and we hunted private land. But you get a license,
Yeah.
and then you shoot as many as you want.
No limit.
No limit. They want to. They have
Yeah,
a problem.
get rid of 'em. Yeah.
I mean, it's not a problem. It's not like they're not sick. There's plenty of food for these deer.
Yeah.
That's
so
one
they're
of
not
the
getting chronic wasting. or
No.
anything like
It's
that.
beautiful, lush, and green.
Yeah.
But they're just everywhere.
Yeah.
They're everywhere. But they're not easy. You know, if you had a rifle, it's pretty easy.
Sure.
But
You
it's,
also have to pay him back and get him back to the
yeah,
States as you
yeah.
go over there. Like, you want to shoot 10 of them as long as you get them
but
out of
it's
here.
fantastic meat, pure, organic. Couldn't be healthier. They even serve it at the restaurant at the Four Seasons in Lanai. You know, it's just, goddamn, it's good. So good.
Lean and good.
Oh, so delicious. Just you feel the nutrition in it. It's just so fantastic, you know? And when it comes to like sustainability and ethics, it's like one of the best places. Like that's a place where you actually should be hunting these animals, you know?
Whenever I go to Hawaii, I always just feel like I should show my passport. Like
This is not America.
it ain't America.
They stole
man.
that shit.
That shit is straight up like it's a foreign country.
It
In a
is.
beautiful way.
Yeah, in a beautiful
know?
way. It's
Yeah.
its own thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the fact that you can go there without a passport, but I
Yeah.
agree. But I'm one of those weirdos that think there shouldn't be passports. You should be able to go anywhere. It's part of our problem. That everybody's all locked into these land masses and these forbidden areas. Yeah, break those boundaries. Tear down that wall.
I was just in Iraq, and you talking about some boundaries and sort of lines in the sand and so forth. Boy, you know.
I'm sure. What were you doing over there?
So I went with, so back up, 2 years ago, the earthquake in Nepal that killed almost 10,000 people throughout the country.
19 on the mountain on Everest, right?
Yeah, a lot of people got dead. And
19 people died in that one Was it an avalanche that got him?
Yeah, well, so the earthquake triggered a lot of glaciers that are hanging up around in that cirque, and it released, and a lot of stuff just blew through base camp and killed folks. But throughout Nepal, throughout the countryside, I mean, we're talking villages that have stone huts and no mortar and no rebar, and, you know, just shakes just a little bit and shit falls down.
Ancient temples. I mean, the place was decimated.
It's a house
Ancient
of
temples.
cards. Yeah. So lots of devastation, lots of people dead, and lots of injuries. So that day that happened, I knew I wanted to go to Nepal to help. I'm a PA, I'm a physician assistant, and I've specialized in emergency medicine. So I knew I wanted to be there. And more than anything, like, focused on sort of austere medicine, you know, like, I want to go out there where shit's a little bit off and try and help the best I can. So I went over there. I located in an NGO called NYC Medics, and
What's NGO?
And a non-governmental organization. So not supplied or, you know, subsidized by the feds. This is just like sponsorship, basically donation money gets you over there and you do your work. So you're not under the auspices of the feds. So went over there with these guys, NYC Medics, which is a group of former, New York City paramedics that realized they wanted to take their skills and go do some cool shit around the world. So I found these guys. I went over with them. I was on the ground for a month, way back, like in the way back. This place called Dading Besi, which is right at the base of the Ganesha Mall. So this is a place that we landed in some helicopters and set up shop. And there was a lot of these Nepalis they're Tamang Nepali. That's their ethnic tribe, not Sherpa, but Tamang. They see the helicopter come in, and these white dudes get out of the helicopter, and they're like, what the fuck? We need help. Are you here to help? Yes, we're here to help. So we had 3 helicopters worth of gear, downloaded it, set up our clinic, and we're there for a month. We saw, I don't know, 700 or 800 patients in the course of a month. Wow. And what started as trauma from the earthquake sort of then segued into primary care.
Like infections and injuries.
Well, and also, believe it or not, like a lot of psychological pain. Like, they were scared. The earth was shaking still. I mean, there was tremor after tremor after tremor. I mean, every day the earth would shake. I got home, and for a month after I got back from there, I still felt the ground shaking in Boulder, Colorado. Because it was just, my body was still sort of, the equilibrium was weird. So tremors every single day. So these people needed, anxiety medicines, to be able to take the edge off. So I was over there for a month. We saw a bunch of people, and it was very worthwhile. So got connected to this organization and became good friends with all the folks who run it. They do amazing work. And so I got a call in January from one of the heads of the organization that says, we got this kind of kooky thing that we've been asked to do by the World Health Organization. Would you be interested?
Kooky?
Kooky.
Is that the word?
Iraq. That's the word he used.
Kooky.
Kooky.
Jesus.
So
who the fuck uses kooky?
So when
it comes to going to Iraq,
12 years in medical school, not understanding what sniper fire is.
It was a little bit kooky. So he frames it up for me, and he's like, "Listen, here's what's going on. We've been asked by the World Health Organization to go in and be a trauma stabilization point in Mosul, which means you will be as close to the front line as possible, embedded with the Iraqi Special Operations Forces. And your job will be to lead a medical team of, we had 9 of us, within 2,000 meters of the front line." That was the way it was framed up, and that's what we all sort of signed up for, and that was the agreement with the World Health Organization. And so we would be the first point of contact as these Iraqi special operations guys were going in and putting the fight to ISIS to liberate Western Mosul. So, Eastern Mosul had been liberated, months before. And
he volunteered for this, by the way.
So that's all Eastern Mosul on the east side of the Tigris. And then on the west side, ISIS was still sort of dug in right there. And they're ready to put the fight down. They wanted to get after it and save, that's where their caliphate supposedly started or was settled. And so our job as the TSP, this trauma stabilization point, was to be as close to the front line as we could be. And this was the kicker, within a margin of safety, but still be close enough to where we could receive the casualties as quickly as possible, stabilize them, and then get them to a forward operating suite. which was typically run by Allied forces, so our guys. So I said yes before I asked my wife, which now in retrospect probably wasn't the best strategy, because she was not super stoked, but she, I pitched it to her, and I've got an 11-year-old kid, and she gave me, I think, the least amount of pushback as anybody around me in my close network. I mean, a lot of my boys were like, "The fuck, dude? What are you thinking, man? Like, what are you getting? What's your point? What are you doing this for? What's your intention to go over there to a war zone, to a combat zone, volunteering, and helping a group of people that you have no affinity for?" It made sense going to Nepal, because I love Nepal. I love everything about Nepal. I love the Nepali people. So that, good, everybody got that.
But that's the weird thing about Jeff, because he was on the phone with me at the same time saying, "Hey, are we going back to Everest to go rescue?" So he's gonna, no matter what, sometime in spring, he's gonna put his ass on the line to help save people. He was calling me, "Are we going back?" And I'm like, "I don't know if we're going back. The network may order another season. We probably go back." And I started lining stuff up, and just in case the network triggered it.
Any of this stuff aired yet?
Yeah, Everest Air. The name of the show is Everest Air. It aired November of last year.
Everest Air?
Mm-hmm.
And what network did it air on?
Travel Channel. 6 episodes on Travel Channel. It's on iTunes and a couple other places too.
Okay, so people could get it right now.
Yeah.
So, so you tell your wife.
Yeah, and she knew what she signed up for when she married me. So she knew she was kind of getting a little bit of a wild buck in her hands. But this was different. I can go climbing, I can set my sights on this and that, and get out there in the mountains or do adventure races and stuff, and all that's cool. But then, mad respect to the men and women that serve in our military, man, and put it out there every day. But I'd never been in a combat zone, and that shit is crazy, man. I mean, it was real. And I have no, predications that I had any experience close to what our men and women have experienced. But from a medical perspective, it was intense, to say the least. I mean, it was a mind bender. After the first 3 days, I remember texting my wife just saying, like, I don't know if this is sustainable. Like, just my emotional state, because every day was immense volume of profound penetrating trauma. I mean, never was there, very, very rarely was there a guy who had one gunshot wound. Typically, 7 or 8 or 9, they were leaking from from lots of places. These dudes were getting shot up, and then the IEDs and would blow these guys up, and we would get them. They'd be, the ambulance would just scream in and drop these guys off, and then 5 minutes later, another ambulance would come in with 2 other dudes, and it was just constant. And we would do the best we could to stabilize them or call it, and the ones we could save, we'd package them up and stabilize them, try and control the bleeding. We'd intubate them if we needed to, and put chest tubes in, and crike them in some cases, and stabilize their extremities and patch their holes, and then send them on.
He would do these daily blogs, right? So people who know him were over there. We're watching CNN, see if he's going to be on, which he was. And he'd do these daily blogs, these long diatribe, which is, I think, how he stays somewhat sane. But they're getting shot at. There's mortars coming into their compound.
Where are these blogs?
On my blog, which is, it's on my website, Jeff B. Evans. I like to write.
JeffBEvans.com?
Yep, JeffBEvans.com. So I like to write, and Bud, you're right, man. I like to write.
How do you have the time?
Well, so this is what I would do at night. Like, if I would lay down, we were sleeping on the floor on these Iraqi blankets, and we would just lay down on this. So we'd go into these abandoned homes, and we'd set up these trauma bays, and we'd sleep in a room off the trauma bay. And so we'd do our day. I very rarely wasn't dressed and ready to get up and go, because at any time the head logistician would be like, "Patients," and everybody would pop up and get ready and go out, and the ambulance would throw people on, mostly during the day, but fighting would generally subside at night, and we'd get a little bit of rest, and then I'd write. And it was important, I think, to sort of, percolate that shit out a little bit and let it sit. So we were in this one place for a couple weeks, and then came the request from the head of ISOF Special Operations General Abbas, and he came to our head logistical gal, and he's like, listen, you know, as the front line is moving forward, we would like for you guys, if you are up for it, to move forward as well. The only problem is it's not going to be within that 2,500 meter cushion from the front line. It's going to be more like 500 meters from the front line.
500 meters?
Yeah, which, you know,
that's really close.
That's really close, especially since the front line's pretty fluid anyway, right? And this isn't conventional warfare, right? These guys are, you know, ISIS was reinforcing these vehicles and, you know, steel plating them up and then taking civilians and handcuffing them to the, you know, to these steering wheels and telling them you best drive, and they drive, and then they'd be packed full of explosives and C4, and they'd blow them up, you know, and you know, our guys would, you know, Iraqi dudes would be like trying to pelt him to take the dude out, and they couldn't get, you know, like shit was really archaic but effective, you know, and so they told us, you know, we'd like for you to move, and then our head logistical gal Kathy, she came to the whole team and she said, this is our option. You don't have to do it. You know, no one's obligated to do it. Y'all are volunteers, and by the way, we were close to begin with. I mean, it was constant every day, just mortars and small arms fire, and there was a bunch of artillery that was set up all around us, outgoing. So we got used to the sound of outgoing artillery. We didn't hear a lot of incoming because they just had pushed them back. So okay, we all said, let's do it. You know, if we can create positive impact and we can save more lives by being closer, let's do it. So we all got in this big Oshkosh and Humvee convoy and drove down past the airport. And I think a lot of military folks that listen will know that airport in West Mosul very well, probably. We drove right through the old busted up, you know, it was just rubble. The whole airport's rubble. It's just completely, it looks like fucking, you know, bedrock, Flintstones, you know, it's just a mess. Drove all the way through there and then went to this house. And we set up our clinic on a street corner, covered by a corrugated metal roof, and put all our trauma, we put 6 trauma beds and got our trauma sleeves up, and everything was ready to go. And then we set up our residence across the street at some other abandoned house, and we're down in this sort of concrete bunker, so to speak. And we started seeing patients, and you know, day one, shit ton of people and lots of things happening. I mean, I'm talking dozens and dozens of, you know, multiple gunshot wound patients, multiple careers that I experienced in that month of just the flow of volume of penetrating trauma. So then it was day 2 or 3, all these displaced locals basically got released. So they've been holding them at a checkpoint, fingerprinting the fighting age males, making sure they're not on a record, and, you know, making sure everybody's not strapped and letting them through. So on day 3 or 4, they just let this flow of humanity started walking down the street about 60, 70 yards from us, from where we were set up. And they'd see the Americans and they'd see the stethoscopes, and they just start running towards us because these people had been captivated for you know, and held captive and hiding out in their basements, eating grass, you know, trying to find any fluids at all to drink. There's no rainwater, you know, there's fucking rain there, and just eking by. And little kids, I mean, these are civilians, these are little bitty kids, and they're hiding out in these homes, and they would just run. They would just take off running and get to these checkpoints. So on day 3 or something, this flow of humanity comes by. These guys are starting to sort of bum rush our spot, and everybody starts to get a little bit panicked because we weren't quite sure there's a lot. Turns out a lot of bad things could happen, you know, in that situation. So we sort of get our security detail to keep everybody away, and we treat a shit ton of people. Day 4 rolls around, and we wake up that morning, and the first patient I have is a 5-year-old little girl that had been just absolutely like homicide, like killed, shot right in the head, assassinated.
Back of the head, right?
Back of the head, yeah. And that was how our day started. It like, you know, 7 in the morning. That was it. And the day got worse. So the first incoming landed about, I'd say about 75 yards from us, an RPG. It landed in the neighbor's yard next to us. And it just blew a bunch of debris up, and it landed on our corrugated roof there. And we were all like, damn, but we kept working. Then 10 minutes later, maybe, another one came in, and it was 50 yards in, just getting closer. This second
It's called a grid. It's a clit.
It's
a little click.
They were
75, 50, 25.
So we didn't know it at the time, though. But yeah, you're right. We did not know this at the time. So that one obviously got everybody super tingly. But there was still a shit ton of people coming in. We had patience. I mean, we were working. And we had our Kevlar vests on, and we were trying to, stay. Then the third one hit, and it landed right outside the door. And it blew a shit ton of debris. I mean, we felt the blast, and one of our medics got a big piece of debris in the back of his leg. It knocked him down. So we went into this bunker, basically, this staging bunker, and we sat down in there. And, no matter what, we weren't going to go out into that. But then 30 seconds later, one of our security detail dudes carried in our head of security, and he was lifeless, and dropped him on the table. And this is a dude we'd been, eating cookies with and drinking tea with like a half hour, an hour before, standing at the door in between, ambulances. This is our guy, and he was dead. And so we all looked at each other, and I was the team lead. And I tell you, man, I wasn't about to ask anybody to go out into that, and no one even hesitated. Like, we went out and started working on Hasib, and we got on him quick, and he was out. And I listened to his lungs. He didn't have any lung sounds on one side. I saw some penetrating entry wound in his chest. Put a chest tube in his right thorax, and about a liter of blood poured out from his pleural space, just like that. And as soon as that happened, he could inspire again. And so we started breathing and resuscitated him.
So he was dead, and he came back to life.
Well,
just
he
from
was
that?
he was
Drowning.
unable to inspire. So his whole body had shut down from, number one, from the shock blast. Right, and being hit that hard by a piece of shrapnel, and just being that close to the impact, but then also this penetrating piece of shrapnel went right through his chest and didn't hit any of his vital organs, just caused this hemothorax, this blood to fill up in his pleural space. So I evacuated all that blood, and he started to be able to breathe again. So there he is. He's back. We get him out. We go back inside the bunker there, and a couple hours later we got out. So we find out the next day that a dude, not of fighting age, a local guy, was a sleeper cell, and that he had come back in the neighborhood and was 3 or 4 houses down, and was communicating with his operatives and his ISIS bros, 200-300 meters away, and was releasing pigeons to identify our position. So the way they figured this out, one of our security guys would see a pigeon go up, and he didn't think much about it, and then a mortar hit. And then, 10 minutes later, he's like, there's no pigeons around there, right? Because, shit's crazy. It's combat zone, and birds don't dig combat zones. So he kind of started to piece it together, and then he realized on the third one, he's like, he saw a pigeon go up, and he goes, we're about to get hit. Sure enough. So we got out of there, saved Hasib's life. He got out, and they went and found this dude and got his phone. And sure enough, he was doing all this, and he admitted it. He's like, yep, that was me. I was doing it. I was releasing pigeons to identify your spot. And I was told they took care of the situation. That was what I was
To try to kill the Americans who were trying to help everybody.
Well, yeah. So ISIS wanted us. They wanted to get us because we were there. We were helping the enemy, right?
Jesus.
So that was a couple months ago.
So they documented on his website. CNN was interviewing him, and there's mortars dropping. It was crazy.
Yeah, it was heavy. Took
How
me a
long
little
were you
while.
over there for?
About a month. Yeah.
How do you decide when you're leaving?
Well, they knew this NYC Medics. They knew this NGO knows like it was hard to sustain that. You know, I mean, with the concentration, it can't help but affect you. I mean, that's why so many of our military folks have such profound PTSD. Right? It's just from getting your ass kicked like that. I mean, these guys go through these deployments that are just months on end of that. Right? And
right.
You just can't imagine how much, how that hurts.
And then go back to Kansas and try to go to the grocery store.
Yeah, it's hard to fathom,
Hence the
pain.
black tar Tootsie Rolls.
Well, right, so social.
It's not black tar. It's
not
mushroom.
heroin,
I don't know
dude.
what the fuck it is. That's the only
Mushroom.
reference I know.
Johnny
those kids
Cash
with
over
their dope. These young kids. Wow, man.
Yeah, so that was it took me a little bit to roll out of that, and thank God for my wife, man. She came back and we went on a run up in the hills like a few days later, and we got up to the top of this hill, and I just cried on her shoulder. I just let it go, and since then I'm fine. But it gives me such a deep appreciation for how hard it must be for these men and women who come back from these deployments, and they've been a part of these things and been affected so profoundly. It's got to hurt, on a very deep emotional level.
Whew, God, I can only imagine, man. What a crazy life you live, helping people that are involved in traumatic situations over and over again, various traumatic situations, whether it's getting stuck on K2 or whether it's yeah.
But he seeks it out. That's what he does. I just wanted to bring him. He's like, what am I going to do this spring that's going to change 50 people's lives?
Well,
where's K2?
K2's in Pakistan.
Pakistan.
Yeah.
Is that a more dangerous one than Everest?
I think generally the consensus is it's more technical, it's more dangerous, and it's not as commercialized, right? So it's not.
When they say more technical, what do they mean by that?
Well, there's just longer bits of terrain that require more high-level technical climbing skill. So more exposed, more steeper, more longer stretches of hanging it out there kind of terrain. You better have your shit dialed or you're gonna get smoked.
And when they go on these like crazy hikes, like you have to have very specific kind of gear too, right? Like they must have like the clothing pretty dialed in.
Yeah, I mean, remember those pictures of Maui, right? Look where it's come. Like this dude was in wool, which by the way, wool's pretty good.
Pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty
good.
good.
A lot better than cotton.
A lot better than cotton. But now, it's a matter of getting the right gear that works, and you can rely on it. I don't want to be 20 miles back and, in the backcountry hunting elk and have my thermarest have a hole in it, so I sleep in the dirt for 5 days, which is what happened to me last fall. I was by myself, and, it was way, way back in the first night, my thermarest had a hole. I didn't have a patch kit, so I just laid in the dirt for 5 nights.
How was that?
Dick off.
Yeah, you get cold from it too.
Fucking
if your
cold.
Pad.
I have to put my pack under it. You just, whatever.
Yeah.
I've had some nights like that.
So, yeah.
Wait a minute, you were upset because you had a hole in your air mattress?
It was flat, man. I had nothing.
But you bagged on the Japanese guy because he had a hole in his mattress.
Well, which guy? The guy that came down? Yeah, well, he called a helicopter in. I sucked it up.
He called a helicopter in because he had a hole in his mattress?
Well, this is a funny story. I got a call. So there's a Japanese guy and he's dying at Camp 2. Dying.
Yeah, he's telling everybody he's fucking dying.
He's dying.
Mm-hmm.
So we're like, holy shit, all right. So I got to get the helicopter. So they risk their lives. They go up there. They get him. Fly him down base camp to Lukla where our air station was. Gets out of helicopter. And I'll let Jeff take over.
Well, yeah. And then, I started, asking him. He's as pleasant as he can be. And what's going on? Do you hurt? You have pain? Very, very tired. Very, very tired. Hole in mattress. And I'm like, you have a what? What? And he said, I have a hole in the mattress. And he was at Camp 2 and was sleeping in the snow and had a hole in his mattress and didn't tell anybody. Just was basically, he was done. Like we were talking about earlier. Like he was done. And because he's got money, he calls in the cavalry and says, bring me a helicopter.
Jeff was pissed.
I was fucking pissed. There's a lot of people risk their lives. I saw a dude on Denali do that at base camp in 1996 or 7. This dude shows up with a Boy Scout, old school Boy Scout, like Weebelo looking fucking thing, like made of cotton, I guess, with like some weird synthetic shit. And he asked me for a knife to be able to cut the plastic off of it, and I'm like, man, that's not a good idea. Where are you going? And I didn't want to, I should have questioned him. 2 weeks later, we get a call and have to go up to 17,000 feet for a guy who had broken his ankle. So we land the helicopter down at 17, and he runs towards the helicopter, which everybody knows is you don't run towards a helicopter.
It makes it a little difficult.
He runs to the helicopter. I'm like, he's got a... So it turns out he was just cold. I'm telling you, man, like a lot of people just tap out, and because they know there's an infrastructure around that will pull them out. Instead of being accountable for themselves. That's where I get pissed.
So we pulled this guy off and we interviewed him, and then Jeff goes, the nicest thing he says, have a nice life. Walks up and just starts cussing and pissed. He's pissed. He didn't want to do an interview.
This is the Japanese guy?
Yeah. Didn't want to talk about him and didn't do anything.
I mean, it's very dangerous to fly a helicopter at that altitude, right?
Selfish. Anything can go wrong. I mean, our helicopter pilots were, absolutely other than military pilots, got to be the best helicopter pilots in the world. I mean, these guys are so skilled and understand what those conditions make you do as a pilot. It was phenomenal. But that being said, machines break.
I put him in a helicopter one time. We put him in a bunch of helicopters one time, and that helicopter and that pilot are dead now.
Yeah.
From that.
Well, no, like a few months later, I was in the bird with that guy from flying. He crashed into a cliff.
Won't name the company, but yeah, there was that one little flight we put him in there.
Yeah. And that was a rickety old helicopter.
When you do all these really high stressful, high danger sort of situations, you're constantly around people that have this extremely high threshold for the extremely high tolerance to discomfort, to pushing your endurance levels, overcoming obstacles. Like you're around people that are like really solid human beings. Like they're very we're talking about people that are willing to summit Everest, people that'll rescue people that summit Everest, people that are willing to do these medical stations 500 yards or 500 meters from the front line. I mean, you're talking about some really solid human beings, very, very unusually solid human beings. When you come back from that and deal with people like, oh, my fucking cell phone's such a piece of shit, like, oh my God, there's traffic, oh my God, like is that one of the hardest transitions, like the modern first world problems, gripes, the bullshit that people whine and bitch about?
Yeah, that was part of the discomfort I had when I came back from Iraq specifically. Was the delay in flights and just how pissed businessman Bob gets, like come on, dude. I let like Louis C.K. bit about you're not fucking walking, like 13 of you are dead when you get back, like no, I've been on a gratitude tour since I got back. Like I'm just grateful for everything. I'm so grateful that I was born by a random stroke of luck in Roanoke, Virginia, with good parents and a good family structure, and was given all the opportunities that I was given. And I wasn't born in Mosul and hiding in a cellar from the most evil dudes on the planet. Yeah, I mean, it's just it's great. So I've come back, and instead of getting mad at those people or frustrated with those people, I just try and smile through it and just think, to myself, like, man, I wish you could taste what I tasted just not that long ago, like it really recalibrated me, where shit just doesn't, I just let it Teflon off, to a certain extent. And with regards to the people that I work with, I tend to, I think, gravitate towards people who like these chaotic sort of environments. And I got turned on to this thing that was this concept, this acronym that the American Military Academy kicked off a few decades ago, it was, I think 30 years ago or something, and they started referring to working in these VUCA environments, right? Volatile, uncertain, chaotic, ambiguous environments, and how we operate in those environments, and how true champions and leaders like Alex can operate in these places, in these atmospheres that are just absolutely shithouse sideways. And when things go crazy, how do you handle? How do you manifest it? What are you doing? Are you flipping the fuck out? Are you withdrawing? And we all have different methods for dealing, but I feel like I've kind of gravitated towards those kind of people.
Yeah, I just got done reading Sebastian Junger's book Tribe.
I just read it too when I got back.
Amazing.
It's
right?
amazing. And
Yeah.
it reminds you of where we are and where we've been. Right?
Yeah, and
Good
also
read.
why people do gravitate towards those environments, and
Mm-hmm.
like what they get out of it, and how this life in these intense environments sort of it magnifies so much of what it means to be human.
Mm-hmm. And to be a part of something that's bigger than you.
Yes.
That's the phenomenal thing.
Yeah.
And I read Younger's. I read that book too, right when I got back. So just like last month, I read it, and it was a great tool for me. My SEAL team buddy told me to read it when I got back. And he says all the team guys, have read it because of that. It reminds them of why.
Yeah.
Why, and then why things are a little bit, the threads come undone a little bit when you're not in that tribe, right?
Yeah.
Pretty remarkable.
Yeah, and how many people live in environments where they don't know their neighbors, there's no danger, there's no excitement, there's no nothing, and they live this muted, terrifying life. In a lot of ways, it's terrifying because there's nothing there. It's empty. There's a void, and it's not how human beings are supposed to be. We're supposed to be confronted by a certain amount of difficulty.
Supposed to be challenged, right?
Yeah.
And life's very insulated and soft, and as a result, we insulate further, I think, from that. And
then we medicate to deal with the hollow feeling that you get from being isolated and insulated.
But I answered the questions for earlier, which is why people climb Everest, why you climb K2, why you go those.
I did not
push
climb
yourself.
K2.
I know, but you push
Right.
yourself. Why anybody
people
does that?
do.
Why do the people push themselves?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, and why do we hunt?
Yeah.
Why do we run?
Yeah.
Why do we do the things that we do? Because it creates engagement for me. And no, I'm not running for my life, but
Create struggle.
I did run for my life just a few months ago, and I look back now, and that's the fucked up thing that I think so many military folks really struggle with, and that's what Younger talked about in that book was, how would you find the environment you were in was so precarious and it was just so tenuous, like it could be wiped out in any second, and yet you want to go back there. I got an avalanche on that mountain, almost dead. But turns out I want to go back. Why? Why? Like what? Why?
Right.
What is that wiring that makes you want to? But you know why? Because they want to be with their boys and their gals and in it, connected, feeling like our shit is tied together. Why do I want to go back in the mountains? The same reason, because I want to go with the same boys and get the same sort of, intense experience. And I think that we miss that. I miss that. I really do.
Jeff's got this thing he wants to teach his son, and when we were up there in Everest, he kept on talking about teaching his son to serve others. Be positive role model and serve others. And I don't know where that comes from in him, but that's what he always talks about.
Well, I think it started with Eric, right? Because that was the foundation of my relationship with my blind buddy. I was a selfish dirtbag climber in J-Tree, in the mid 90s, and I met this blind dude who needed an ally. He needed a friend. He needed a guide. He needed not just a guide, but he needed a teammate, and not somebody that he could trust, but somebody that would eventually trust him. And that was pretty wild for him to ask at some point for a sighted person to trust a blind person on the side of a rock face or the side of a mountain. Because it's hard enough with everything, and you take away your vision, and shit just gets amplified.
And Eric's pretty famous. I mean, he's summited. What has he summited?
Well, he's done the 7 summits, so the highest point on each of the 7 continents. I was on 6 of them with him, and he went down to Antarctica while I was in medical school. But then he's gone on to do a lot of stuff. He's a bad dude, man. He's a very
motivational
bad
speaker.
man.
I mean, he's a great dude.
Yeah, Eric Weinmeier. So but to be honest with you, he'll be the first to tell you that kayaking in a boat by himself down the Grand Canyon was way scarier than anything he's ever done.
How could you don't know what's going?
The violence and talking about chaotic environment around you, just you
can't see
barely
it.
hear the dude in your ear, and sometimes not at all. All you can hear is this violence, and somehow he just paddles through, and then he'll get tossed and go under and have to roll back up. And I mean, he tells me that, you know, he had his own little version of PTSD from that, from just being freaked the fuck out and having nightmares.
How long was that travel? 200 and something miles? How long did that take
I think
him?
it was a couple weeks. Yeah, 12 days maybe, something like that. I think it was. Yeah, pretty remarkable, man. Pretty remarkable.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
It's it's a bad dude. But it does it is a reoccurring theme. This thing where people are in these incredibly hostile, dangerous scenarios, and they want to go back. They get over it, and then they want to go back.
Yep. And I mean,
the challenge,
I
whatever
feel
you
it.
get out of it. Is that him?
Yeah, that's him.
Oh, there's a video of him doing it?
Oh, yeah, you bet.
Was he born blind?
So he was born with a degenerative retina disease called retina. Look at that shit.
Oh, my God.
I mean, that'll swallow you, bro.
How do you spell his last name, Jamie?
Weihenmayer. So wine is what he does in the mountains sometimes, or what you drink, and then mayor of the city. Wow, that's an old image. He's got hair right there.
Wow.
But yeah, that's him right there.
That's on Everest.
Pulling up the top. But he's a bad man, dude. And you know, everybody loves him some super blind dude, you know, and I think that's why our relationship is so strong, is because I'm not afraid to give him some shit and kind of keep him grounded. But behind the scenes, he blows me away. I mean, I ain't gonna lie to you. He's a very special human being.
It's crazy that he can figure out how to balance that and figure out how to go left and go right.
Well, he's an amazing athlete, first and foremost. I mean, if he was sighted, he could have been like a pro ball player. You know, he's just got that sort of body awareness. And then, so he's born with a degenerative retina disease. So he
goes under.
He was blind, legally blind, but then his retina's unraveled, and at the age of 13, it was totally lights out. And then his mama got killed in a car wreck 2 years later. And so it was step up. Fortunately for him, his dad was a Marine fighter pilot, Ed, and Ed was not about to let his blind son sit back and let life go by. So he grabbed him by the scruff of the neck and took him on all these around the world as he got stationed in different places. And Eric just realized, like, pony up. Ain't got time for sitting around, son.
Wow.
Get up. And he did. And he found rock climbing, and then rock climbing turned into mountaineering, and that's when we met. 23 years ago, 4 years ago now.
I think this is all very hard for some people to process, especially people that haven't experienced very difficult things or very scary things or dangerous things. You know, that people would long to do this, to be a blind guy who's going through 270 plus miles of water in a kayak, or to be someone who wants to summit Mount Everest, or to be someone who wants to be a medic in a war zone, or to be Sebastian Younger, who's out there, you know, embedded for years.
Right.
Years.
I think that maybe the general population might look at that and feel like maybe it's reckless, or some are super inspired and like, man, that's so great. And then others are like, yeah, I mean, I'm down, dude. I'm psyched that you're out there charging, because then that sets the template. And what it does, I think, for a lot of people, it just says, oh, that blind guy can do it. Well, then that means, you know, I should stop feeling sorry for myself because I'm feeling low today. Guarantee you, there's a lot of times when I don't feel like training. I don't really feel like going out and doing something hard. And then I'll think, I need to train harder to be strong enough that when shit goes sideways, I'll have his back.
Yeah,
you know
and when
I mean?
you do train for something like Everest, how do you prepare for something like that?
Climb.
Just climb.
Up and down, lots of weight.
Like a place like, you know, you go to Boulder or somewhere in the mountains above it or something like that.
Bigger mountains, yeah, like way up in the hills.
Yeah.
And like big, long days, like 10, 12-hour days.
That's how you train?
Yeah, 10,
and how many of
12-hour
those do you
days.
do a week?
You know, I mean, 2 or 3 probably, like big, long days. I try to, you know, get broke the fuck off at least, you know, a couple times a week.
Right.
Where I'm like, woof, okay. Like,
and are you carrying weight on your pack and doing the whole deal?
Those days of carrying big, heavy weight, I've kind of stopped doing that, and I just go because I like to feel a little bit more free. There was a time when I would put on a big pack, you know, and just to feel that weight on my traps. And
Joe's only asking because he's experiencing 45 pounds. He has a new vest he was testing out the other day.
Yeah, I think I saw.
Well, I'm asking because it's crazy how 45 pounds is just not much at all.
No, but it's a lot.
when you
right?
start walking up hills.
It's a
oh,
lot.
yeah.
Yeah. It's
But,
a lot.
you know, some of these guys are probably carrying way more than that, right? Like 60, 70.
Oh, on Denali, like a Denali pack's close to 100 as a guide. 100-pound pack.
Oh, that's insane.
100-pound. The clients
And-
would typically have, it's a 100-pound pack and a 20 or 30-pound sled.
Yeah.
Those were Denali days.
And that's at 12, 13, 14,000 feet. That's not Bell Canyon. That's
Yeah, what are these guys built like?
Well, I mean, the ones who are good are pretty narrow.
How the fuck are they carrying that much weight?
I carried that much weight for years and years. And I
100
mean,
pounds.
I was a $150 back then, you know, and would carry 100 pounds. And it hurt, you know, but remember, mountaineering is slog. I mean, when you're really moving like on that kind of mountain, it's a slog. It's
Right.
really slow. And then you get on technical terrain, you best lighten your load. You're not carrying 100 pounds then. You're carrying, you know, a light pack. Light is right. You know, ounces make pounds, pounds make pain.
Right. And what
Yeah.
you got to feel like someone carrying 100 pounds, you have to build up to that, no?
Yeah, for
'Cause
sure.
there's all these weird stabilizing muscles in your hip muscles and your lower back. And
Oh man, I couldn't do it now. I mean, I couldn't do it. I get sore thinking about it. But I mean, this was back in my 20s when I was doing, you know, back-to-back Denali trips.
you didn't know any better.
I didn't know any better, and it was like, this is fun. It was fun, and it was cool. I used to do a lot of expeditions because I was the quintessential dirtbag, just so I could go eat, you know, so I could get fed. And I didn't even care. I mean, I'd have done it for
You'd
free.
go on expeditions just so you could get some food?
Just to eat, to know I was going to eat some dehydrated food. Yeah, I was living in my van, man.
How did you start out being this guy?
I was born in North Carolina, in the Smokies, and I grew up in Roanoke, Virginia. And my parents are not adventurous at all. But, you know, my dad and mom were both just working. They're, you know, middle class, you know, hard working middle class folks. And I was just a restless punk, you know. I was just super restless, getting in trouble all the time. And, you know, I got arrested several times before I was 18 and just bad, just restless and dumb, like most of us, I think. And went to school at Tennessee for a year and got a 1.2 my first semester and a 0.6. It's possible to get a 0.6.
Wow.
Yep, I got a D in racquetball.
No.
Yep,
No.
true story.
You just weren't paying attention?
No, I was drinking brown liquor and chasing women. And I was good at it. I was good at both those things. And so I failed out and then moved to Colorado in 1989. And moved to Boulder, and it was just a bunch of hippies. And like I was into the Grateful Dead, and I was, you know, tapping into some good fun things and growing my head. And I fell in with a group of climbers pretty quick off who were a couple years older than me, and they basically took me under their wing and sort of gave me this apprenticeship and taught me how to not get dead.
Wow.
Yeah.
Boulder's a real weird spot, right? There's like fly fishing there and kayaking and hikers and everyone's riding mountain bikes and everyone's fit. It's weird.
Everybody's fit.
Like, where's the fat people?
There's no fat people in Boulder.
It's so weird.
No.
You walk around, everybody's got like Solomon's on and shit. Like, all right.
Everybody's coming in from a workout.
Yeah.
Whole Foods, just everybody's stinky and
Yeah.
buying some granola. And
They're all sinewy and shit. Ranchers.
there's a lot of people. So I've lived in Boulder on and off for 28 years. I went to medical school in Philadelphia at Drexel Medical College, Pennsylvania. Other than that, I've been in and out of Boulder for 28 years, and we're moving to Evergreen. We're moving to Evergreen, Colorado, which is a super sweet spot. But
Yeah, it's
the reason
gorgeous.
I'm leaving Boulder is because it's pretty congested, man. A lot of people live there.
That's hilarious.
It's a lot of people live there. And now I'm riding on the 405 here, and I'm like, man,
200,000 people.
I don't know how y'all do it, man.
One of the people I was talking to, Lanai, she was saying that she's going to bring her nieces to California. They've never been outside of Maui.
Oof.
They've been to Lanai and Maui. That's it.
That's it.
So they haven't even been to fucking Honolulu. And now she's going to fly them to Los Angeles. They're going to go to Disneyland, Universal. Like, what in the fuck?
Should give him some mushrooms, see what happens.
Just
You don't need to. That'll just be overload.
I remember when I was a kid and we went from New York or from Boston rather than New York for I think it was for a karate tournament or something like that. But we were driving up the West Side Highway and you see the city looming in the distance like the Death Star. And I remember thinking, what in the fuck is this? Like, how are there so many buildings? Boston's a city, but it's not that kind of city.
It's not Manhattan.
Manhattan is something very unique and special.
Death Star.
Yeah, and you pull up to it, you're like, what is this? It was so intimidating.
Well, that could go either way for those kids, right? That could
Yeah.
just be fascinated by the energy or bug the fuck out. And
Yeah.
Can't wait to get back to Lanai.
Well, the amount of stimuli that you get in an environment like that is just overwhelming.
Yeah.
But you're like, Boulder's too much.
It's too much. Too many people, man.
There's almost 100,000.
Yeah.
We
Well,
can't do this any longer.
I don't like to sit in my truck. I like to move, you know. If I'm going to go drive somewhere, I want to drive there and park and get out and go in and do my deal and come back. And then, you know, the trails are pretty populated too, you know. You go climbing, you've got to wait in line. Sometimes, you know, like
so
if
you go up like roped climbing,
Yeah.
like when people are going up sides,
you better get there at dawn. And
Really?
get up. Yeah, it's a lot of people getting busy out in the woods, which is cool. But you know, I'm just feeling like, you know, there's a lot of folks. Turns out the older I get,
The less people he wants to talk
I
to.
just don't
But
want.
do you think also that's, you know, you're involved in these intense situations like being in Iraq or like being on Everest, and sometimes you just want to sit back and process it all.
Yeah, and sit on the rocking chair,
Quiet.
and I like to, you know, I want to mow my yard. I want a tractor. I want to drive my tractor around and, you know, sip on a beer. I'm a Southern boy at heart, and I like quiet things.
I know a bunch of guys who've moved out there for that very reason.
Yeah, it makes sense, and so we're moving there here in a couple weeks.
That's awesome. And the landscape couldn't be prettier.
It's nice.
Beautiful.
It's real nice.
How are the winters?
Brutal.
They ain't Gold Hill winners though.
No, that's way worse. But it's brutal. You know.
Yeah.
You
No,
gotta-
it's real.
You gotta get ready.
Yeah, we
It's
live on
not
a dirt.
Everest.
We live on a dirt road.
Holla.
Yeah, it's
You're
dirt
out there,
road.
huh?
I
Yeah.
pulled up to Joe's house. There's an old power wagon, his old house in Boulder, an old power wagon with a snow plow, and there's a couple snow machines out there, and I'm pulling like, do you know why those things are there, Joe?
Because you gotta plow yourself out.
It's got
I'm not
snow.
scared of snow, man. When I lived in Boston, I drove a van. I drove delivered newspapers. I drove 365 days a year. So I drove every fucking day. Every time a blizzard hit, every time snow hit. I'm not scared of snow. I know how to drive in snow. I mean, it's not fun to get stuck, and you will get stuck, but it doesn't bother me. It doesn't freak me out. But to someone who's never been in snow,
Yeah,
it ain't the place.
that ain't the place.
But if you had to choose between, like, it's a tough call, because, like, would you rather live in, like, Phoenix right now? I heard it's 124 degrees.
That dude.
They're canceling flights because it's so hot. They're canceling flights.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, there's something about that cold and snow too that's like really peaceful. Like, there's something that people don't like. I remember when I was a kid, one of the things that I really liked about snow is, especially when I had to deliver newspapers, is like I would have to be out there and you would hear nothing because the snow muffles all the sound.
Yeah.
So it's like you get a kind of peace and quiet that no one's driving because it's, you know, there's 2 feet of snow. So you're out there and it's just nothing, and everything's soft, and you hear that whoosh, whoosh, for your feet on the ground, and that's it. You know, it's like and then I think people that live in those environments, like live in the cold, you appreciate summer for real. Like you really appreciate summer. Out here, every day is summer. Nobody gives a shit. It's 75 degrees and perfect in January.
Yeah.
You know?
And you go into Boulder and on the CU campus, you know, like you get a 60-degree, 50-degree day in the spring, and all
Yeah.
the bitches just go down to their Daisy Dukes.
Whoa.
You know, like they're like,
Bikinis.
"Woohoo!"
Time to
You
put
know?
up those feathers.
Yeah.
Let that scent fly. Whoa. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, wow.
So what's next for you, man? What are you going to do now?
I don't know. We got to figure it out between now and next spring, because spring's when I start get the itch, you know, to go do something. And
So how do you guys work it out? Do you like come to him with an idea, or do you guys sit down and talk about it?
well, we can't talk about our
Can't talk about your
potential. Well, he just pitched something to me yesterday that's pretty interesting and adventurous and fun and curious and a mystery. It's a bit of a
Jeff's good TV. I mean, he's a good person in general, but he's also really good TV. We have a mystery. 2 guys have already died trying to do it.
Oh Jesus.
check.
Yeah, and it's pretty dangerous, and I want to put a team together and Jeff leading the team and see if we can go pull it off.
Oh my God, dude. Well, listen, don't die, and come back when you live, and we'll talk about it.
Come back when I live.
Yeah.
Yes, I like that idea. It's fun living, turns out.
Oh yeah,
I enjoy life. You know?
And do you enjoy it more when you come back?
Yeah. Yeah. Once again, like gratitude tour, like, you know, like I love it all. My kid's a total slob and like really just drops shit and makes a mess everywhere. And I'm like, I love that boy. You know, like you're a little fuck up and I just love you.
Well,
you know,
just remember what you were like, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And boy, I mean, that's the universe saying, "What's up, bitch?"
Yeah. Here you go.
Here you go.
What are you gonna do with this kid?
Yeah.
You gonna take him to Everest?
Yeah. He's a little long-haired kid that's just trying to find his way, and I can relate. You know, he's trying to figure it out.
No one just knows their way. There is no. Everyone finds their way.
No,
you have to.
I'm still looking, man, and
you always will be.
Yeah, and that's the good thing. I think that's part of what I'm doing. Why I'm doing it. I'm still looking.
100%.
You know, I'm still trying to figure it out, and I'm trying to do the best I can, helping people where I can. I don't have a wide array of skills, but I know how to help people when they're having a hard go.
That's a great path, though. I mean, the path of service, the path of helping people, and the gratitude and the experience that you get from that. That's very positive.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I feel like if I can instill any of that into my boy, like I win. You know, it's be grateful. Like live a grateful life, and by living that, what does that mean? Is like, you know, pay it forward, show gratitude, show love, show compassion, and allow people to be the best version of them and do the best you can to make them better. You know.
Well said.
And I didn't know that till I met Eric. To be honest with you, he was a catalyst for all that.
Wow. That's amazing that one person can change the course of your life that much just by existing and being around them and experiencing how they navigate life.
Yeah, that's what I learned.
Well, listen, man, thanks for doing this. Really appreciate it. Bud, thanks for bringing him on. We'll do it again back when you guys survive, because you're going to survive, right?
Oh, yeah, you know.
Okay, we'll do it again. That bad. We'll do it again, and we'll talk about it. All right.
That was fun, brother.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, man. Thank you, Joe.
See ya.